get going. Let's hear from the protectionist crowd, the anti-capitalist crowd. Chris, Fairfax, Virginia, the great WMAL. Go.
Hi, Mark. Huge fan. Great to talk to you.
Thank you, Chris. By the way, what do you do for a living? I'm just curious.
I'm actually a student. This summer, I have an internship at a government contractor, but...
All right, so, and what are you majoring in?
Computer science.
Okay, so you're not planning on actually working on an assembly line or growing crops or anything like that. That's okay. I don't either. All right, go ahead, Chris.
Well, I just wanted to point out that this Sunday, the Washington Times reported that the EU rejected a zero tariff deal from the United States, but they made a zero tariff deal with Japan. So ostensibly they're...
Well, let me ask you, how would we do a zero tariff deal when many of our statutes require us to have tariffs because they were pushed into bills by members of Congress? How would we do that exactly?
Well, we'd have to put more bills through Congress to get rid of those statutes.
So let's look at the sugar subsidy that Marco Rubio supports and the vast majority of the congressional delegation in Florida supports. So when you say we offered a zero tariff to this country, how can we even offer a zero tariff? I'm not even understanding. Don't we have statutes in place?
All I'm saying is...
What do we have, a dictator?
No, but we have...
So what we ought to do is propose legislation, expose the phonies in Congress for whom they are, you can do zero tariffs with countries, do zero tariffs on products. Go ahead. Who's stopping the administration from doing it? See, we have three branches of government in this country, right? You see, theoretically, what the president's doing with these tariffs is he's using the national security clause to do it. It has nothing to do with national security when we're dealing with Canada. What's the national security issue?
Well, we're getting a little off track here, but when...
I'm not off track at all. I'm focused like a laser, buddy. You're a student. I'm educating you. Go ahead.
Well, the argument for using the national security exception was that we need to have our steel industry to have a certain...
Well, 70% of the steel produced in this country is produced domestically. Is that a problem?
No.
Do you know the facts?
Yes.
Okay, so if that's not a problem, why are we using the national security exception?
The argument, well, clearly
I'm asking you, okay, not what you were taught. I'm asking you. What's the problem?
Clearly, it's just an excuse for Trump to be able to unilaterally impose tariffs. I'm not going to argue against that.
And here's the problem. It's like the minimum wage. You don't support a $15 minimum wage imposed by the federal government, do you?
Of course not.
Well, why?
Because it should be a free market. How could...
No, but it'll help certain people, right? But it'll also put a lot of people out of work, right? Because some of these businesses, big and small, can't afford it. They can't make their bottom line. Everybody thinks businesses are doubling and tripling their money. They're not. Some are on small margins, 2, 3, 5, 8%. That's why you're seeing more and more kiosks show up in these McDonald's franchises. And then the other fast food companies are going to come up with it. And so all these young people, particularly in the inner cities where these are their first jobs, they're not going to get those first jobs.
Hey, I don't support a $15 minimum
I know, but I'm not just talking to you. I'm explaining when you're imposing these taxes, imposing these costs, they have consequences. So if you're a senior person at a McDonald's and maybe you've got tenure and maybe whatever the deal is, maybe you'll be there, but a whole bunch of people won't. It's the same thing. When you protect one industry and it has all these sub-industries connected to it that rely on those materials or technologies or whatever, downstream, as we like to call it, from an economic perspective, it has an impact. So while people working for XYZ steel company, people investing in it, people owning it, may be doing great, people having to actually use the steel to manufacture stuff aren't doing as great.
Well, I'm not arguing for tariffs in favor of protecting the steel
industry.
So
what is your hypothesis here? I'm not following you.
My hypothesis is that the tariffs are a part of a strategy to exert pressure on other countries.
I have a better idea. The strategy to exert pressure should be to get rid of tariffs. and then watch the money flow out of their economy. The way I just said, you go to Congress and you ask them for legislation.
Yeah, I know, I understand.
And then you encourage look, we're not trading with countries. You understand that? We're not trading with governments. We're trading with people and businesses. If you create an environment in the United States like used to exist in Hong Kong, a tiny speck of an island, had no natural resources, but the highest standard of living. Why? Because they had the lowest taxes, lowest regulations, lowest tariffs. We can do the same thing, and then all this money will be pouring into the United States from these other countries. All right, thanks for your call, sir. Appreciate it. Jed, Denver, Colorado, Sirius Satellite. How are you, sir?
I'm great, Mark. Love your show. I'm a farmer in southern Colorado, and things just don't quite make sense